Everything is changing, growing, and evolving, even you. From the nurse's student to the baby nurse, off the bedside nurse and into entrepreneurship, you have evolved. So now we're here at the Evolved Nurse Podcast. I'm your host, Lakeisha, and let's get right into the episode. Welcome to the Evolved Nurse. It's your host, Keish, and I just want to let you know that today's episode was pre-recorded in May. So some of the dates that you will see, they've already passed by, but keep those dates in mind for next year if you have a business. Also, remember that our guest is not your professional. She's not your CPA. So if you have any questions, reach out to your personal CPA or tax personnel, or reach out to the IRS on your own, but she is not your individual CPA. So if you have any questions, you are able to reach out to her on Instagram. She lists everything, everything will be in the bio. But always remember that you always have to do your own research when it comes to finances. So do your own research. But I would like to say I really enjoyed this conversation thoroughly. She gave us a lot of good gems, especially as nurses who are transitioning into a new area in our tax bracket. We ain't never had this much money before, but now we're coming into having some money and we don't know what to do with it. We also are afraid to file our taxes because we don't want to get taxed to the umpteenth degree. But honestly, I think this is an episode that we all need to have so that we can stop exempting and then paying all that money on the back end. So let's get right into this episode. All right. So we all know how hard it is navigating a taboo topic like money, especially in the nursing career. So today we have accountant and tax strategist, author of The Real Estate Method, a commercial real estate investor's guide to decrease tax liabilities, the creator of My Wealth Planner, as well as the Sipping Wealth Mixer and Brunch, a community staple, someone who gives free game on her to her community weekly live on Instagram. Can we give a warm welcome to Miss Wadelene Charles?
Hey. Thank you.
Yes. So I met her because I met her on Instagram and she's actually my tax lady.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I really want to get into the reason why you decided that you wanted to do accounting, why you wanted to work with money.
Gotcha. The decision I've actually been in the accounting industry. My first job was in taxes
Hmm.
and bookkeeping and taxes. And that was around the age of 14, 15 years old.
Oh,
I was
wow.
working at an accounting firm. And it was cool doing the bookkeeping and everything, and then tax season would roll around. And then I eventually went off to go to school and study it. But I would say the decision to say, "Hey, I'm gonna actually stick with this and make it a career out of this," came in college. Really, just going through the college trials and tribulations, it really makes you think like, okay, what am I doing, and do I actually want to do this for the rest of my life?
Hmm.
So I would say through that, I really figured out, okay, why why do I like accounting or bookkeeping, or why do I want to stay in that industry?
Hmm.
And through that, it really came through understanding money and how it works, and how, especially through my upbringing and my parents being immigrants.
Hmm.
So myself being first generation, figuring out how money works, shifting the dynamic and paradigm throughout my family and in generations, and then also bringing my community along with me. So my whole method of Wealth Up is it's a lifelong journey, because the wealth journey doesn't end; it just gets passed on. So I
Hmm.
always say, let's wealth up together, because as I continue to learn and grow and things like that, I bring my community along with me. Um, so that's my why.
Your
Yeah.
why. I love your why because you give free game on Instagram to people all the time. So
Mhm.
what made you want to give that information out? Most people gatekeep and they don't they don't let people know the things that are going on as far as taxes, budgeting, all of those things. But you actually get on your Instagram live and you let the community know how to navigate certain spaces.
Yeah, it's really because I'm truly passionate about what I do. I love it. I could talk money and wealth up strategy
Mhm.
all day. And it really gets me excited with sharing it. Even some days I'm like, oh shoot, it's Tuesday is coming up because I do it every Tuesday. I'm like,
Mhm.
Tuesday's coming up. I got to think of a new topic. And it's like, but it's like, as soon as I get behind that camera and start talking, it's like, it just fuels me up. And now I'm excited. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
yeah, this is why I love doing this. And even when I get on my calls with my clients, I start running on. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to look at the time. Um, but it's really something that I'm truly passionate about. And that's why I created Sipping Wealth, which is a financial literacy brand, because
Mhm.
outside of the tax and accounting space, my career, I'm like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm still fueling and remembering what I'm truly passionate about, and that's educating the community on finances, and how they can help solve their um, lack of resources or their issues or concerns as it surrounds money.
Yes. Look, like I said before, money is a very taboo topic. Most people don't want to talk about it. We're very hush hush about it. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to talk about how much they make, especially how much they spend and how much debt they're in.
Right.
So,
Yes.
one of the biggest trends or topics within the nursing community specifically is the fact that we are going exempt all the time.
Yes.
And I have talked to several friends, several travel nurses, and once I was a travel nurse, and people will go exempt so that they can see all their money. So a post just came out on Facebook, and someone was like, "Well, I just got it audited by the by the IRS, and luckily, it's only the years that I was traveling."
Mhm.
So one of the things I want to say, because I really don't understand exemptions a lot.
Okay.
But I know that if I don't understand it, there are people who are exempting that do not understand that either. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what exempting does?
Yeah, so you're essentially telling your employer, like, hey, do not take any taxes out of my W-2. I'm going to pay it on my own.
Mhm.
But what that ends up doing is at the end of the year, when it's time to file your taxes, now you're getting hit with the entire tax bill during the year, plus a penalty for not making tax payments during the year.
Mm.
So, with and some people may even do, oh, I'm just gonna go exempt half of the year, and then and then the other half they take it out of my paycheck. Well, you're still, since you're still responsible for that first half that you went exempt on your payroll taxes, because they didn't go and take it out of your paycheck. So yeah, it's just, hey, now since they didn't take it out, now you have a bill when you file your taxes based on what you're supposed to pay during the year.
Okay. Because I knew that they were paying back what they owed, but I had no idea that they were paying a penalty in addition to that.
Mhm. Yeah, so that penalty, it's because you're supposed to make estimate, if your tax bill is going to be more than $1,000,
Mhm.
then they start adding penalty associated with it. So if you are going exempt, then you have to essentially calculate what your tax bill may be for that quarter, and then go ahead
Mhm.
and make a payment towards the tax bill. And right now we're about to get into the second quarter deadline, which is June 15th for the
Mhm.
estimated tax payment. So if you are going exempt, you want to make sure that June 15th that payment's in, and then the September 15th payment is in. But it's really kind of like, yeah, you have to make payments throughout the year if you are not, if you're self-employed or if you're going exempt, so that you're not getting hit with an additional penalty on top of the tax bill.
Okay. I really wanted to ask about that because like I said, most people that I know, they go exempt so they can see all their money because they're making well, these people during COVID, they were making like $10,000 a week. And then they were
Mhm.
like, okay, so if I'm making $10,000 a week and they tax that, I'm really not going to see all of it. So because they wanted to see all their money on the back end, they were paying like 30, $40,000 back in taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just kind of to satisfy that visual effect of seeing all the money, but then you see all the money, then you spend all the money. So
Yeah.
that's the double-edged sword. Because generally people are putting all their money in one account, and
Mhm.
then they check their account, they're like, "Oh, okay, I got money, I can afford it." And swipe, swipe. Next thing you know, you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you just brought on additional expenses and bills. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So you just spoke about putting all your money in one account. So I know that you created my wealth planner. That means that you do budget strategies as well?
Yes, so that's more part of the Sipping Wealth,
Mhm.
which is the financial literacy brand, but I do budgeting as well, and it correlates with the planner. So with our budgeting sessions, we do provide a copy of the planner as well. Um, but yes, absolutely.
Okay, so whenever you have people who have one account and they're not budgeting through just that, of course, because they have these high tax bills, they have satisfied their initial urge to spend, spend, spend. Would you
Mhm.
recommend they have several accounts to divvy out amongst their budget bills and debts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea to make sure you have multiple accounts. So that you have one that you're paying your bills out of, one that you're saving for future investments, one that has your emergency fund, rainy day. So definitely making the a vacation fund. So creating those different accounts so that you're not one having all your money in one account where that could risk any type of fraud or collapse, bank collapse, or whatever the case may be. Even though we
Mhm.
do have the FID, uh, DC, but that only covers up to 250K.
Mhm.
But outside of that, it's like, hey, you want to make sure that you do have the multiple accounts because it also helps with budgeting. And making sure that you're not just swiping away because oh you got to sit in the account.
Okay. So
Mhm.
here is like one of the big questions I have to ask because I remember coming into the nursing career, um, going into a different tax bracket, and I was super afraid to file my taxes. Then I got on Instagram, I found you, and you helped me navigate figuring out like if I'm going to get money back on my taxes because I had a lot of jobs and I was trying to figure things out and I was like if I make more money, they're going to take more money. But luckily, I was able to get something back on my tax return. But what would you say to people who are navigating the space of, wow, I have just came into this career and now I'm making money. What do you suppose they start doing with their money once they start making some?
I recommend getting in front of it. So get in
Mhm.
front of it. Um, when I say that, I mean, hey, if you know that I'm going from making 50K to now I'm going to be making 110K this year. I'm making a huge jump. Getting in
Mhm.
front of it and saying, hey, let me go ahead and sit down with an accountant. Let me go ahead and make sure I have a tax strategy going into the year because a lot of times people wait until tax time to figure out, oh shoot, I got a tax bill. Dang, what could I do about it? Well, at that point, there's very little that you can do because
Mhm.
the year is already up. So generally, the most that can happen at that point is trying to find, if you qualify, trying to find expenses that can offset it, the tax bill, or contributing, making sure that you max out your retirement contribution. So those are kind of like the huge two that you can that are like quick little put your money here so that you don't
Mhm.
so you can avoid some bit of the tax bill. But if you get in front of it, there are tons of different strategies that you can apply make sure that you actually apply that could decrease your tax bill overall. So yeah, I would say the big thing is making sure that you get in front of it and have a strategy going into the year, or have a strategy as you continue to earn more money. And don't be afraid to earn money. So
Hmm.
people will be like, "Oh, I don't want to pay more in taxes," and they have a limiting belief, because yeah, the tax bill gets bigger. But you want to make sure that you're also growing your earning potential. So as scary as it sounds, that hey, you got to pay taxes.
Yeah, that is very true because taxes are not going anywhere,
Mm-mm.
regardless of if you're making a little bit of money or you're making a lot of money. Um, they're still going to be around for the rest of our lives as we foresee it.
Yeah.
But what would you say the things that you are doing yourself in order to make sure that you are striving to the wealth lane, like creating wealth and generational wealth for yourself? Because I know you said that, and we all know that wealth continues. We pass it down from generation to generation. But in a
Hmm.
lot of our communities, we don't even know what that looks like. We have no idea what passing things down looks like.
Hmm.
So, what would you say that you're doing right now in order to build your wealth?
Yeah, so one of the big things that I continue to do is educate myself. So I make sure that I'm continuously investing in myself, education, um, outside of the regular continuing education that I have to
Mhm.
do to keep my licensing. So I have three coaches that I see throughout the year, one that I see twice a week.
Mhm.
So that's the biggest factor, is making sure that I continue to stay educated. And the other is the people that I have on my team, my financial team, um, my essentially my growth team. So my financial advisor, my lawyer, like making sure that those people are know what's going on, and I consult them and talk to them throughout the year to understand, okay, where should I be putting my money now? Or hey, does this strategy sound like
Mhm.
something that I should be looking forward to and doing in the future? Or how did I get here? And them advising me on that. Because you only know what you know. You don't know what you don't. So making sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that know more than you and that are
Mhm.
experts in their industry is critical. So I'd say the big thing is continuing to educate myself, and then the other is the team and the people that I choose to surround myself with, and help with managing my finances and wealth.
Okay. I'm glad that you said that because most of the time we surround ourselves around people who we know that may not know more than us or may not be able to help get us to the next level. And of course, you can still have those friends, but you also have to have people on your team and people around you that can help you whenever you're like, I have a question about this, but I don't know who I can go to.
Right.
So I'm glad that you have those people. What made you write the real estate book?
So the real estate book came because I find myself, well, one, it's the industry that I specialize in.
Mhm.
So, which I believe that everyone and majority of my clients do have some sort of real estate. Um, some either on investing, on some kind of investing tip, or they own real estate. So I'm like, hey, this is not going anywhere. So I want to hone in on real estate specifically, and how we can have a tax savings on that, and also grow our wealth through real estate. So I was like, I'm gonna hone in on real estate, and then I was like, you know what? I started having the same conversation as far as, hey, what tax strategy should I employ? Or hey,
Mhm.
do you know anything about this? Or hey, da, da, da. And I'm like, you know what? Let me put like some of the more common ones, or some that people aren't really considering, in a book. And now it's packaged for them. So whether it's like, okay, a real estate professional that I'm assisting, or advisory client, I'm like, here's the book, check this out. And then it's the words real estate is actually, each letter is a method. It's
Mhm.
a particular so it's like I'm coining real estate method, and it's just talking about 8 different strategies that people can employ on how to decrease their and liability overall.
Okay, I see a lot of nurses who decide that, once I start making a certain amount of money, I'm going to dive into real estate, whether that's the Airbnb method or whether that's the, buy, sell, flip and sell method. They are utilizing some of the money that they make and putting it into real estate, which is something that, I'm going into soon. But I'm glad that you have gone into that area, figured out the methods, and perfected whatever methods you have and put them down in a book for us so that we can better understand how we can save money. Now, with that being said, have you always been one to be able to navigate communities in which you can speak to people and talk to people, or is that something that you had to develop over time?
Yeah, I would say it's something I had to develop over time. I grew up a very shy kid,
Mhm.
especially elementary school. I didn't talk to anyone. I was the teacher's pet. When they went out to the recess, I would be the child that's sitting next to the teacher, just playing by herself. So so the person that usually is speaking on stages and the hosting lives and all this right now, it's definitely a person that I developed and I grew into. Because I always was that shy kid. While everybody was outside playing, I was in the house reading and playing with my dolls. That was
Mhm.
my life. And but it came through pushing myself and realizing, hey, I wanted something better from my life than what I seen from the community that I grew up in, and something had to change. So I would just like go and jump and run for treasurer of a club and jump and run for president of a club. And at that point, I already put my name on the ballot. So there was no turning back.
I can't go back now.
Yeah, I can't go back now. I have to show up. So I would put myself in awkward and situations where I can't turn back from.
Mhm.
And that pushed me to, get the job done and become the person that I am right now.
Yeah, I always say, you have to be in uncomfortable positions to get to where you want to be. Because as long as you're comfortable, you're never going to move.
Right.
You're going to
Right.
have this stifling belief system, and you're always going to be like, what, it's okay. Instead of pushing yourself and being uncomfortable, because being uncomfortable isn't always fun. So once you put yourself on the ballot and you were like, you know what, I can't turn back now.
Yeah.
It leads you to becoming like a better person, a better community leader, because you show up almost everywhere.
Mhm.
Everywhere I am on Instagram, I see you.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a community service event, you're there.
That's funny.
So how do you navigate and balance your time, because you have a lot going on?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the answer to that one. How do I do it? It's really how I navigate it is kind of like making sure that I hone in on, okay, what I find that it's important, because
Mhm.
there are tons of events and things going on. Um, so I just pick and choose the things that I'm gonna make sure that I back and I support and I show up for it. So even if I have to stay a little longer in the office and complete some things, or make sure I knock some things out on the back end so that I'm able to support an event or an activity or do this in the community, then I make sure I do that. I'm a huge on, hey, if you want to get something done, then nothing's gonna stop you if you truly want to do something. Um, and that's what I hold on to.
Okay, because she is the definition of Miss Do It All. When I say I have seen you doing so many things in so many areas, when I saw you pick up real estate, I was like, oh, she's over there too.
Yeah, yeah,
But it
yeah.
It leads me to know and understand that you do not have to be just one thing.
Right.
You can be multifaceted and also be able to balance work, life, and all these other things. Because while I see you out doing community service, also being a pillar in the community as far as finances, I also see you taking time to yourself and traveling. So, in all that you do for everyone else, you have found a way to be able to pour back into yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely find that it's important to do so. Because the feeling of being, and I've been burnt out in the past and feeling like, oh my gosh, but
Mhm.
I don't ever want to lose the passion or the fuel or the the push that I have for what I do. Because I truly love what I do, and I never want to feel like, oh my gosh, this is becoming a job or I have to, and I can't service my clients the way I would like to. So I do make sure that, hey, I'm taking care of my health and I'm pouring back into myself, and I'm doing that community aspect back there too, because when pouring into other people, it goes, it leaks over to my
Mhm.
cup too.
Mhm.
so it is almost like a give back, and it gets back to you as well. So making sure that I do those aspects where, hey, I do like to be outdoors, so I can find a community engagement that's outdoors and that's giving back as well. Um, yeah.
Okay. And I also see that you are on your health and fitness journey. That's one thing that I know for nurses ourselves. Once we go through being a student nurse and coming into nursing, we have the worst health in the world. I can tell you from my own experience and experiences of my friends, we have no time for the gym. We have no time for eating healthy, but we actually do have the time to do it, but we just don't have the motivation or dedication because we're so drained from everything else. What led you to deciding that you wanted to enter into your own health and wellness journey?
Yeah, so I've been on my health and wellness journey for a long time.
Mhm.
And I've tried different things and did different things throughout the years. I would say good old COVID, 2019 actually, to be exact. 2019, I went on a vegan journey.
Okay.
Um, I went completely vegan, and during that, joined like an I partnered with an herbalist, and we became really close.
Mhm.
And she really taught me a lot about herbs and things like that. Um, and that kind of changed my perspective and mindset on my relationship with food, with things that with being natural and holistic, and then adding my partnership with Body Precepts, which is a women's fitness brand in Jacksonville,
Mhm.
here in Jacksonville. Um, that adding that component, it was like, oh, okay, now we're getting the food thing together, which is the biggest thing is the food. But then also adding weight training and everything like that with Body Precepts and having that community behind me. But I found that with having the sisterhood with Body Precepts, it really helped with keeping me consistent throughout my journey.
Mhm.
Because I think that's a huge thing. It's like we start, but it's the consistency that is where we see the change in the lifestyle aspect. Because now my fitness is a part of my personality.
Mhm.
Versus before, I was like, okay, something I do. Um,
I
but
might go to the gym. I might not.
yeah, like, oh, I'm gonna
I
have
have to.
now. I'm conscious, like, oh, I'm gonna have a shot. I'm not gonna do the pineapple juice this time. I'm just gonna have the lime, or I'm gonna
Mhm.
do um a soda, a tequila soda versus a tequila cranberry.
Mhm.
So making sure that I'm more
Less
conscious.
carbs.
Yeah, yeah, like so. Just having a better, even though yes, I'm still young. Yes, I still want to go out and
Mhm.
um, you know, have my time, but being more conscious to say, okay, even though I do those things and go out, that doesn't mean I have to have a bad relationship or a bad feeling with food and my intake and my lifestyle. they could blend with each other.
Yes. And they should blend with each other. I remember when I went on my vegan journey, and I used to have a saying that I am eating to live, not living to eat. That used to be my mantra before
Mm-hmm.
I started eating bad again. Um, and then now I don't think about that mantra anymore, but I really should, because in order for us to live long, be able to pass down our wealth, we also have to be able to pass down how we eat and how we do certain things, because if we don't, it's a generation and generation and generation of diabetes, high blood pressure, all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we're nearing the end of the episode, but I really want to talk about, we just spoke about the mindset around food, but how would you say that nurses, people in general in the community, how do they navigate changing their mindsets around money? Because that is a big thing. We have such limiting beliefs on money, how to save it, how to spend it. If you have anything like me, I have the mindset of I don't ever want to be broke again. So I
Mm-hmm.
hold on to money, and most of the time I don't do things with it that I can, or like invest, because I'm scared that I'll be poor, like broke again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. I find that relating it to something that you already do. So, um, for example, like a fitness trainer or the nurse. So you're already in that industry, the health industry. So relating money to that stance, just how you advise your patients and your
Mhm.
clients on how they should be about their health. Just make it more relatable with you with money. So you know that in order to stay organized and know what prescriptions and things that you're giving your patient, you have to have a chart.
Mhm.
You have to you have to stay up to date on your the things that you're prescribing to them, the medication, the procedures, things like that. Same thing with money. So if you're given the time into learning these things and make sure that you stay employed, you have to put the time to and understanding to know that, hey, where am I putting my money and what should I do with it? And actually, taking the medication because
Mhm.
and doing it. Because it's one thing to say that you need help and your
Mhm.
patient's coming to you, but it's another thing to actually do what the doctor says or the nurse says. Um, so just kind of finding a way to relate it to what you already do, so it doesn't seem so foreign.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times people have a disconnect with money. They make it seem like it's kind of like something that's kind of out of reach or far from them, and they can only grasp just a little bit of it. But if they change their mindset as far as how they look at money, then that will change everything. And then as far as the abundance and lack mindset, yeah, don't be afraid to lose it. And it kind of goes back to faith
Mhm.
and having I don't know if your followers are faith followers, but I'm a faith
Mhm.
person. But making sure that at the end of the day, like God will provide.
Mhm.
Like, not to say go ahead and splurge it and be bad stewards of your money. Like, just think about the times where had your back against the wall and God
Yeah.
comes through. God will come through every time. So don't be afraid to make the investment. Because through that process, you are learning, you are growing. Um, no, that's what I'd say.
I Look, I'm telling you, because when I look over my life, as many opportunities that I have had to spend money in order to make money, because what's the saying, scared money don't make no money.
Right. Mhm.
Um as many opportunities that I've had to invest or buy property, I always would get scared. I'll be like, but I can't lose money. I can't lose money. So, one of the things that I'm working on is being more conscious on spending, but also putting my foot out there to make good investments. Even if the investment isn't the best, but it might look great right then, but if I lose in the long run, I should be okay with that, because at least I tried.
Mhm.
So, I see that you have coaches. That's one investment that you can make, and this is me speaking to the listeners. Coaches, they may cost some money, but they are helping you to get to where you need to be, where you want to go, whether that's financially, whether it's investment wise, whether it's opening a new business. Sometimes we don't know all the answers. So when we reach out to someone who does and we see that they are striving in their particular area, then you have that person or that mentor to reach out to so that you can be able to be the best person that you can be in that area. And while I have this as the Evolve Nurse podcast, and like I say, sometimes we don't stay in nursing. A lot of times we're like, okay, we're utilizing the money that we have in nursing in order to be able to support another dream or another opportunity that we have. And that's okay. You don't have to stay in nursing. But when you see people like Wadelene or other people who have those coaches and you want to make those investments, then you have to spend the money in order to make money. And this is me talking to myself, y'all. But are there any books that you're reading?
Yes. So I am currently reading ooh, I'm reading a couple of books. That's probably my issue. So I'm reading What Your CPA doesn't tell you, and
What you
that's
say
by
doesn't
Mark.
tell you?
What Your CPA doesn't tell you, and that's by my
Oh.
coach Mark Kohler. Um, so I'm just reading. It's one of his books that I'm reading, making sure that just checking it out. I just started The Seed of the Soul, and that's kind of like an out there read for me.
Mhm.
Um, and then The Psychology of Money is my ongoing read. That yeah.
Is that a book that's kind of hard to get through, or you constantly read it?
It's a book that's kind of hard to get through for me because it's how it's written. It's a little slower paced.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's not as interesting. Like oh, ooh, this is good. Yeah.
I've seen it and I don't even know if I have it. I may have it and I didn't pick it up yet. But what is a book that you would tell us to start reading that helped you to navigate money mindset?
Um, Profit First is a really good book, very well known.
Mhm.
So Profit First is by Mike something. His name is Mike. That's all
Okay,
I got.
I'll find it and I'll put it in the
Um,
description.
but yes, and he breaks down the different methods as far as how to um one categorize your money and how to in a sense he goes over kind of like a budgeting method.
Mhm.
And then put it and then he goes over a method where you're creating different bank accounts to put your money into and things like that, and how to what different things to focus on. um the other is Start with Why. So I read that a while ago, maybe like 10 years ago,
Mhm.
and that's by Simon Sneak. Um, I thought that was a really good book. And I'm sure they've done like tons of TED Talks is based on this book, and it's just kind of he goes through a process where he's ripping through layers of your why. So you could ask somebody, hey, what's your why for doing this, and then they'll tell you why, and then you ask them why again and why again,
Mhm.
and then once you get down to the very bottom, like the person's in tears, but it gets them to their true why. And then once you
Mm.
identify your true why outside of, the blanket that you tell people whenever they ask you why you do something, then that's something that you hold on to. So whenever you want to quit or you want to throw in the towel and you're like tired, you think about, damn, that why for real. Um,
Mhm.
so that's a really good book.
And I can tell it's good because you said it's been 10 years since you read it and you still remember how it made you feel.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really good because you don't think to rip that back the layers. Like
Mm-mm.
somebody asks you why you do something, you're like, oh yeah, I do this because this.
And that's
And
just the one that's just the surface. but
Yeah.
it's always a deeper meaning to your why and what you want to do. And
Yeah.
I love that. I'm actually gonna read that.
Yeah. It's a really good read.
And
Highly recommend.
so I'm also, because I'm gonna get your wealth planner after we get off of here. And also, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Wadelene C on all social platforms, or Wadelene Charles. And my business, Strategic Tax Accountants, on all social platforms, including LinkedIn. And then Sipping Wealth LLC, the YouTube channel,
Hmm.
TikTok, um,
Oh, I
everywhere
didn't know
else.
you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah. So the lives that every Tuesday, all the lives, they're on the YouTube channel, Sipping Wealth.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, you all know where to find her. And I think y'all really should go ahead and follow her on Instagram so that you can be able to follow her tips and how she navigates money, taxes, all of the things. And so, since you have made it to the end of this episode, I really would like to say, first of all, thank you for coming on because you didn't have to do it, but you did. And also, for anybody who has any questions, you can go and visit us and email me at theevolvednurse@gmail.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at the Evolved Nurse. Thank you all for listening. And that is the end.
Yay.